Meeting called to order. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Clayton.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
Please stand for a silent prayer, moment of reflection. We'll now salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As complied with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. The annual notice was forwarded to the Asbury Park Press, the Coast, and the Star Ledger on January 15, 2026, and posted on the bulletin board the same date. All notices are on file with the city clerk. First up tonight, we have a proclamation for Big Brother, Big Sister of Coastal and Northern New Jersey for their 50th anniversary.
Okay, great. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Coastal Northern New Jersey has dedicated 5 decades to creating and supporting one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite and power the promise of youth. Since its founding in 1976, the organization has served countless young people in our community, helping them build confidence, achieve educational success, and develop the skills needed to reach their greatest potential. Through the commitment of volunteers, mentors, community partners, families, and supporters, Big Brothers, Big Sisters has strengthened our communities by providing guidance, encouragement, and life-changing opportunities for children and families facing adversity. In celebration of its 50th anniversary, the organization has launched the Paint the Town Green campaign, engaging local business residents and community leaders in a shared effort to raise awareness about the importance of mentorship and the positive impact it has on our young people and community. City of Asbury Park recognizes the vital role that mentorship programs play in building stronger neighborhoods, supporting families, and inspiring the next generation of leaders. The work of Big Brothers, Big Sisters continues to create meaningful connections that empower youth and foster a brighter future for our community. Encourage its residents and businesses throughout Asbury Park to support Paint the Town Green campaign and celebrate the transformative power of mentorship. Mayor and City Council of Asbury Park do hereby recognize and congratulate Big Brothers, Big Sisters in Northern New Jersey on the occasion of its 50th anniversary. Commend the organization for its endearing commitment to mentorship, youth development, and community impact. Here you go. I also have to tell you, one of my closest friends, Karita Cook's son, is part of your mentorship program, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience for her.
Council, I'd just like to thank you for all your support. For the past 50 years, we've provided one-to-one mentoring to the youth of Asbury Park and throughout the state of New Jersey. We've helped kids build resiliency, helped them with their self-esteem, helped them avoid risky behaviors, and more importantly, helped them with educational success. We have a big and little here, and Mary Beth is also our Director of Development. Everything that we do is to help kids empower themselves to break the cycle and just be better members of community. So thank you so much for the acknowledgement, and we're looking forward to another 50 years, so thank you.
Thank you,
We are now on special event applications from Recreation Director Alicia Floyd.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There are 3 applications before you and 1 wedding application. All of them are returning events. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. We are now moving on to matters from the City Council. First up, Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to tell you that this past Monday, we had line dancing classes, standing room only. It was on and popping. And every Monday from now until the 27th of April, you can come down to the Senior Center and you can learn how to line dance. Put your boots on, get your fans, start tapping. We have an awesome DJ, Mr. Bray, and then this is all put on by the Recreation Department, and you just saw our director. So make sure that you come down. It's at the Senior Center, and it starts at 6 o'clock, and we have an amazing instructor. Her name is Suzanne Parchment. She's wonderful. And then this Friday, we have Pizza with the Police. So you can come down to TJ's Pizza. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. and you can get a free slice of pizza and a beverage. And you can be with one of our heroes, the ones that take care of us here in this city. All right? So that's this Friday at TJ's. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chapman.
So the City of Asbury Park Recreation Committee is also sponsoring swimming lessons for the children in our community. Saturdays from April 4th through May 2nd, youth ages 5 to 10 at 9 o'clock, youth ages 11 to 17 at 10 o'clock. There's limited space available. So you can reach out to recreation@cityofasburypark.com to register your children, grandchildren, kids in our community for these amazing swimming lessons, getting them ready to go to the beach.
Thank you, Councilmember Clayton.
Good evening. Yes, the Recreation Department is also planning an Easter egg hunt. It's Sunday, April 5th from 12 to 4 in Springwood Park. There is a 1 p.m. hunt for ages 2 to 6, a 2 p.m. hunt for ages 7 to 10. You can have your photo with the Easter Bunny. There are goodie bags for the first 200 kids. So please come out and celebrate Easter with us. And then I've been asked to announce that the Springwood Avenue Heritage Walk is having an honors party on Sunday, April 19th. And it's going to be at the Cooler Pavilion. It is from 2 to 5. And they're going to be recognizing 3 business owners from the Springwood Avenue community. And it will be Bill Griffin, Ronaldo Marshall, and Sakana Smith. So that again is on the 19th, and it's from 2 to 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Quinn. Thank you, and Mayor Moore.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to matters from the City Manager.
Good evening. Nothing to report.
Thank you, and matters from the City Attorney.
Yes, I have updates on 2 matters tonight. The first is, I think has been reported that the city has retained Lee Solomon, who's a retired Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, to review the redevelopment agreements that the city has and to give his opinion on the rights of the city in the event of a default on the casino property. He has obtained all the documents. He has reviewed them. He is having phone calls with a couple of the parties, and I expect in the next several weeks he'll be giving his opinion in writing, which will be made public when we receive it. The second matter I want to give an update on is the Paramount Theater construction project. And I'm just going to read a statement that will be posted tonight on the city website. Despite expectations that the mayor and city council would be in a position tonight to adopt a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign a Phase 2 addendum to the sub-grant agreement with Madison Asbury Retail for the construction phase of the work on the Paramount Theater, Madison has advised the city yesterday that the contractor who was expected to complete the work, March Associates Construction, has decided not to be the contractor on the project. The city was surprised to receive this news because negotiations in recent days were proceeding and there were very few issues left to be resolved on the contract. Madison has also informed the city that it will proceed expeditiously to engage an alternate construction contractor. The governing body has discussed this unfortunate development tonight in executive session and supports Madison's efforts to promptly engage an alternate contractor in time to undertake the $11.7 million project within the time constraints of the terms of the Boardwalk Preservation Grant from the state. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now moving on to a presentation by AP Block 3904 Garage Urban Renewal LLC, AP Block 3904 Venture Urban Renewal LLC for redevelopment of Block 3904, Lot 1, 110 First Avenue.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Jennifer Phillips Smith. I'm an attorney with FBT Gibbons, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the master developer, Asbury Partners, as well as its associated entities, APW Redeveloper, AP Block 3904 Garage Urban Renewal LLC, and AP Block 3904 Venture Urban Renewal LLC. We are here this evening to present a project that now has 3 component parts, and so we'll be going through each one of them with our 3 presenters. The project initially began as the redevelopment of Block 3904, Lot 1, which is a lot that's behind the Empress Hotel. That lot is slated in the redevelopment agreement and in the redevelopment plan to be required to be developed with a parking garage that has no less than 200 parking spaces open to the public. We originally submitted an application to the TRC on March 18th of 2022, so just over 4 years ago, that at the time proposed that Block 3904 be developed with a parking garage with over 400 spaces and 89 residential units that was 8 stories high. We presented that to the TRC in March of 2022 as well, and then presented that proposal to the council on May 25th of 2022. As is typical in this process for redevelopment in the waterfront, where, as you all know, when the council hears one of our presentations, it then decides whether or not to adopt a subsequent developer agreement, which allows the subsequent developer to undertake the project and move forward to the planning board. The council ultimately did not vote to move forward the project that had been proposed in 2022. And we decided to resubmit a revised project on June 26th of 2024. That project scaled back the proposed density. We are now proposing a parking garage that's 5.5 stories, and residential has been reduced from 8 stories down to 6 stories and now has 54 units. We submitted that application to the TRC in June of 2024 and presented it to the TRC in August of 2024. We resubmitted the application to the council in November of 2024. Over the course of the last year or so, there's been ongoing discussions about this project, including the public parking garage and the residential, and discussions about how to expand the infrastructure program that's being undertaken by the master developer to include an additional community benefit. And that is, I think everyone is aware of flooding problems around Wesley Lake. And we've been asked as the master developer to evaluate a flood mitigation program for Wesley Lake that would be undertaken as part of this overall project. So the project went from having a proposed 2 components, the parking garage and residential, to now 3 components, the parking garage with residential and a flood mitigation program to be undertaken by the master redeveloper. So we're here tonight to present all 3. We're actually going to start with the flood mitigation project to talk about what we think that entails.
Let me just interrupt you one second, just so everybody knows tonight there's just a presentation. There will be no vote taken by the council tonight, so it's just a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So we'll start with a presentation on the flood mitigation component and then move into the parking garage and residential components. So with that, I would ask Mr. Clark to please come forward to begin the flood mitigation section. So, Mr. Clark, if you would just introduce yourself and then proceed with the slides that you've prepared.
Yeah, no problem. Stephen Clark, professional engineer for the master redeveloper. All right. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Mayor and Council, again, for having us here tonight. I will introduce the project team, then I will bring everyone through some different definitions so you can get an understanding of Wesley Lake, and from there I will provide a quick summary of where the project is today and the next steps. Qualifications. So as Jen introduced us earlier, my name is Steve Clark. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey. The first 8 years of my career were spent designing and managing public infrastructure projects such as bridges, dams, and roadways for clients such as Monmouth County, New Jersey Department of Transportation, and the Turnpike Authority. Since 2013, I have managed approximately $40 million of infrastructure projects in the Asbury Park waterfront for the master redeveloper. Our civil engineering firm selected for this project is French and Pearl Associates, headquartered in Wall Township. They have extensive experience designing and permitting flood mitigation projects in Monmouth County and the state of New Jersey. Specifically on the project team is John Ritchie and Chris Marks. Prior to joining French and Pearl, John was the bureau chief of the DEP Dam Safety and Flood Control. Chris Marks is the manager of water resources at FPA and has extensive flood modeling experience. Some definitions. What is a coastal lake? As you can see on the map, there are 10 coastal lakes in southeastern Monmouth County. Wesley Lake is simply one of them. Coastal lake water levels rise and fall due to rainfall and outlet into the Atlantic Ocean. Since the Atlantic Ocean is tidal, the ability for a coastal lake to drain is influenced by the tides. Lastly, you cannot drive a boat from a coastal lake into the Atlantic Ocean due to the dams or spillways which control the lake levels. What is a coastal inlet? Again, same map. There are 3 coastal inlets in southeast Monmouth County. Coastal inlet water levels rise and fall due to tides and are connected to the Atlantic Ocean. You can drive a boat from a coastal inlet to the Atlantic Ocean. Rainfall has minimal impact on the water levels in a coastal inlet. So we understand what Wesley Lake is, a coastal lake, and how it behaves. Now let's look at some existing elements that control the water levels on a sunny day. Some more definitions. Weir. A weir is a low man-made barrier constructed to manage water levels. Weirs allow water to flow over the top, acting as a hydraulic control structure to establish upstream water levels. Outfall pipe. Conveys water that overtops the weir to the Atlantic Ocean. This outfall pipe pictured is 6 feet wide by 4 feet high. As this pipe extends towards the ocean, it changes to a 48-inch diameter pipe, then again to a 56-inch diameter pipe. It's indicating that multiple repairs have been done to this pipe over the years. Sluice gate, a sliding gate that controls the flow of water. This needs to be operated by a person prior to a storm event and maintained regularly. Engineers define this as an active system, as opposed to a passive system, which would not require a person to operate. As we have all experienced, when rain event occurs and the outfall pipe does not have the capacity to convey the storm water quickly, the lake level rises and overtops the walls upstream of the lake, causing flooding on Lake Avenue and adjacent properties. This photo was taken after the rain stopped falling on September 29th, 2023. The storm dropped 7.9 inches of rain over a 48-hour span. It also coincided with a full moon high tide, which restricted the outfall pipe's ability to convey storm water to the ocean. Engineering solution. This is a picture of the existing outfall pipe as it reaches the ocean today. The solution will include an adequately sized outfall pipe or multiple pipes to mitigate the inland flooding and convey the water to the Atlantic Ocean in a more timely manner. Constraints from the tidal influence of the Atlantic Ocean will be included in the analysis. It is also important to note that the solution will be a passive system that will not have to be manned prior to or during an emergency situation, require regular maintenance by the City of Asbury Park DPW. Schedule. To date, the project team has completed the hydraulic model, which has been reviewed by the NJDEP Bureau of Flood Hazard and Stormwater Engineering. We have made revisions based on the review comments and anticipate the model review to be accepted. Additionally, the project team has modeled a new outfall pipe and is running scenarios to ensure less frequent flooding from smaller storm events, such as summer thunderstorms, and mitigate flooding from larger storms like the one experienced in September 2023. Once a preferred alternative is selected by the project team, we will review this with the City of Asbury Park engineer and submit permit applications to the DEP and U.S. Army Corps of Engineer. Based on the project team's experience, we anticipate no more than 12 months for permitting. The project will then be bid and awarded, with construction anticipated to take about 12 months. The photo on the slide is from a similar project that was constructed in South Carolina. Thanks again for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
So just to add a little bit more color to this. So the master developer has already, as Mr. Clark mentioned, engaged an engineering firm to assist and has already done a hydraulic study of the lake, which was sort of a necessary step. You have to understand the problem in order to propose a solution. We are proposing that as part of this three-part project, that the flood mitigation team, Mr. Clark and FPA, would take that hydraulic model, work through the engineering solutions, present them to the city and the city's engineer over the course of the next several months. And once we have one that everyone is comfortable with, the master developer would then take the laboring oar to submit that to the DEP and to any other entity that has, state or federal jurisdiction to seek the required approvals, and then proceed, once we have those approvals, to move into construction to implement those solutions to help with the mitigation of the flooding of Wesley Lake, which has a benefit obviously not just for one or two properties, but many properties that border the lake and beyond. We have proposed, how does this all tie together? Right? We have proposed that in the subsequent developer agreement for the residential component, that we would agree not to start the residential construction until this project has started, meaning that if the permitting takes longer than expected, that is something that we wouldn't be able to move forward with the residential component until this piece is able to get in the ground. So that is the flood mitigation component of it. And I'd like to then transition to our other presenters. I understand, I'm sure there'll be questions as well towards the end. But if there's any questions in particular for Mr. Clark from the council, you can ask those now.
So from start to finish on this part of the project, what is it?
So we're right now, early 2026. So the goal would be to complete engineering and submit for permits by the end of 26. 2027 would be spent in the permit review process from the various jurisdictions, and then 1 year of construction in 2028. So by the end of 2028, the project would be in place.
And just so this past summer, our outfall pipe actually broke. It fell into the sand, and no water was getting out of Wesley Lake. So we actually had to cut the end of the outfall pipe off in order for water to exit Wesley Lake and not flood Lake Avenue yet again.
Right, so that's the first component. So I will now ask.
And how much does
Oh, I'm
something
sorry.
like this cost? Go ahead. I'm just, what is the value of this? Like, give me a ballpark on number.
Ballpark $5 million.
But final design will obviously dictate the exact final cost.
And so you were going to do the flooding, the mitigation.
So it would come out of the master developer infrastructure program, which is the same program that's being used to redo the streets right now, for example, up in the northern part. And that comes from the issuance of bonds that are supported with special assessments on solely waterfront property within the waterfront redevelopment area. So it does not come at all from properties outside of the waterfront area. It is supported by the new construction in the waterfront.
Excuse me for a minute, John. Can you ask them to be quiet, because I can't hear real well when they're talking.
Yes, if anybody's talking, please stop, so we can all hear.
Thank you.
Just for an item for information, when we say city engineer, it's not T&M, it's Leon Avakian and company with Sam Avakian leading the way, and Leon Avakian company has been around for generations, and Leon designed all the jetties up and down the Jersey Shore, and they have probably the original plans for the outfall pipe in Wesley Lake, so they will be the city engineer on this project. Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
the
Mayor.
cost, if I may, just want to be clear, the cost is $5 million.
Approximately.
Approximately.
Until
Could
the
be
final,
more.
until the final design is known.
It's not going to be less.
Okay, so it could be 5 million or more, and you're going to undertake this.
The-
And, okay, otherwise, the city would have to pay for that, correct, Mayor? We would have to pay for it.
Well, we'd have to do something.
We would have to do something.
We met with DEP, and we met with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we met with Township of Neptune, who also shares Wesley Lake with us, and there was no funding available for any repairs to either the outfall pipe or to extend the outfall so it actually dissipates water faster to mitigate flooding. So we really tried so many resources. We met with Frank Pallone, we met with our representatives, and we were not able to find any funding for this.
So without the funding, since there isn't any funding, and without the master redeveloper, then that cost would fall upon us, the taxpayers, correct?
If we decided to
If
do
we
it, yes.
decided. Okay.
Or
Or we would flood.
maybe
Or we
5
would
years
flood.
down the road from Army Corps of Engineer, because in 2023, they said at least 2 years for a study, and we haven't gotten that yet. So it's slow working with DEP and the Army Corps of Engineer.
And you said that you would begin this project, the flooding, first.
So we're going to present the parking garage and the residential. We would propose that the parking garage, since it has a public parking component, could begin to move, but we wouldn't start the residential component until until the flooding component would start. And what would be keeping us from starting the flood project would be getting the DEP approvals, right? I wish I could tell you we could go to the DEP and get a permit tomorrow on this, but they can be unpredictable in their review times.
Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
So we'll move on then to have Ms. Keller come forward. Ms. Keller is our professional planner, and I thought it would be helpful to provide some context for this particular project. Unlike some of the other sites in the redevelopment area, this project has had a purpose in the redevelopment plan from day one, and that is to be the home of a parking deck. And we'll explain how the parking deck and the residential are actually required to come in together. So Ms. Keller, if you could please introduce yourself for everyone and then begin your presentation.
Yes. Hi, good evening, members of council, mayor, deputy mayor, excuse me. My name is Kate Keller. I'm a principal with the firm of Phillips Price Greigel Laney Keller based in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I've been at my firm for approximately 14 years, and I've been a licensed planner since 2015. Thank you.
Ms. Keller, if you could start just by kind of giving an overview of the property and then your analysis of the redevelopment plan.
Sure. Thank you, Jen. So yes, so as Jennifer said, tonight we're doing it a little different just because as the planner, this is a council presentation, but I think it's very important to have this planning context of the site. So up here we have just an oblique aerial view, 45-degree angle of the site as it exists today. This is block 3904, lot 1, highlighted in red. This is currently a temporary, which now 10 years old, a parking lot that was put in place by the master developer as part of the overall redevelopment of the property, of the waterfront area. And here is a wider locational context. We are at the intersection of Asbury and Kingsley. The site is located, between Asbury Avenue, does not have direct frontage on Asbury Avenue, but it is visible from Asbury Avenue. As you will see, the Empress Hotel is located to the east, and the Empress Hotel's parking lot is located to the south with frontage on Asbury Avenue. This site has frontage directly on Kingsley Street and First Avenue. In general, we have just some, before we get to the surrounding property, I just want to go back and just to this slide just very quickly and just talk about, to what my purpose here tonight really is to say is that this site, as we will go later in this presentation, this site has always been anticipated per the 2002 waterfront redevelopment plan as the site of a parking garage with over 200 public parking spaces. That does not include any parking serving the residential uses. That's 200 parking spaces in general. So what we have here tonight is really an opportunity to advance that, proposing to advance that long plan component of the redevelopment plan. And I will we have some slides coming up that you will see that this site has been exactly what has been envisioned for that. So just to give an overview of what's in the surrounding area, I know most of you are very familiar with this, but we have the 5 condos across the street to the west. We have the Empress Hotel, which is, sort of the international style of architecture, of a concrete style, to the east. And then there is, the property line, there's a wall separating the southern property line from the neighboring parking lot. So then just to continue on, this goes back to what, really the purpose here is that this project that was proposing, and I just want to note that there are going to be, our architect is going to testify and give you a full overview of what the actual plan will look like. So that's why we're not focusing on that yet. I know that's probably everyone's main question. But this is a project that is fully compliant going back to 2002 waterfront redevelopment plan and the 2004 initial CAFRA permit for the waterfront redevelopment area. And just here, this has always been the goal here. And this is a snippet from the waterfront redevelopment plan, essentially stating that this off-street parking will be supplemented by the construction of 200 or more space facility behind the Empress Hotel. And here is an image of what that block looks like in the waterfront redevelopment plan as of now. So the CAFRA permit, same thing, 200 or more space parking facility behind the Empress Hotel. As many council members are aware, there were amendments to the waterfront redevelopment plan in 2019, several of which directly impacted this site. The main one, or two of them, are the first is that the master developer, and this was done at the request of the master developer, who I believe had attempted to reach out to the property owner without response next door at the Empress Hotel. But the initial area, the initial plan, and this is kind of small, it might be difficult to read, but essentially what this section of the 2002 waterfront redevelopment plan states is that the surface parking area for the Empress Hotel was initially anticipated to be, or it could have been, basically the master developer could have required the city to condemn that property in order to build the parking garage that was part of the site. As part of these 2019 amendments to the waterfront redevelopment plan, that was clarified because it was sort of the way that this is worded in the earlier condition, it was really unclear. And so the clarification in 2019 stated that that this parking lot of the Empress on the Asbury Avenue side was not required to be condemned by the city in order to build this. So
Just to pause and clarify there. So that means what's proposed today is solely on property that's owned by the master redeveloper.
Yes, exactly. Thanks. That it is only on property that is owned by the master redeveloper. It is not on any of the Empress Hotel's property. And also by definition, by reducing the size of that site, really the developable area, the project has been scaled down since the 2019 amendments. So the second change, which was also completed in 2019, had to do with heights. And per the original 2002 plan, up to 8 stories in height was permitted along Asbury Avenue and First Avenue. And the 2019 had pretty much a block-wide height reduction. It's a little hard to see, but it was changed from 8 to 6 along Asbury. And so in addition to that change, as Jen mentioned in our introduction tonight, what we're proposing on this site now comes in at significantly less than what is permitted as far as the height is concerned on this property. 6 to 8 stories, 6-story parking garage, up to 8 stories of residential as a screen to the parking garage is permitted. And what we are proposing is a 5.5-story garage, and the half-story just has to do with kind of like the grading of the parking garage, which you'll see, and 5 stories of residential. So here, this brief overview of the current proposal is a lot more information to come, but the first phase would be the parking structure. 5.5 levels, again, 6 are permitted, and that would include a total of 310 parking spaces, including a minimum of 200 public spaces per the waterfront redevelopment plan. As you'll see in our architectural presentation, we're also proposing a mural on the south elevation of the parking garage that will help blend it into the surrounding area. The residential component, and this is really, it's wrapping the parking garage for reasons that are related to the regulations in the waterfront redevelopment plan. But again, 5 stories of residential is proposed, up to 8 is permitted, and it's going to consist of 54 rental units, and we'll be wrapping that garage on 2 street frontages. And also just wanted to mention the flood mitigation project, as you just heard about, is part of this current proposal. They're all going to be tied together. So this is I just offer this as a brief overview. As you also heard, Getting too excited. On the left, you have a version of the original proposal that the TRC and the council saw in 2022. This was a much larger building, going up to 8 stories in height. This included 89 residential units, 454 parking spaces. What we are now proposing is significantly scaled down. It has 54 residential units, 310 parking spaces. And then again, just to this, some of this text may be small, but so I will just go through this briefly. So I just wanted to briefly go over some of our compliance with the requirements of the waterfront redevelopment plan in its current amended state. First of all, regarding parking structures, there are very specific standards, both zoning standards and design standards throughout the plan for parking structures. This includes the fact that this parking garage next to the Empress Motel is permitted to be up to 6 stories in height, whereas parking garages in the rest of the city are only permitted to, in the redevelopment plan area, only permitted to be 5 levels in height. So again, we're doing 5.5, not 6 here. And then the second, right underneath there, goes through some of the design guidelines for off-street parking structures. The one that these are just the guidelines that are proposed, not part of the zoning requirements like the height, just the design guidelines. So I just want to note, especially here, the second bullet point here is that the parking garage shall be encompassed at street level by active habitable uses, including permitted principal accessory uses such as residential. And then in this next column, there is another requirement pertaining to parking decks, which is that streets that require pedestrian continuity, AKA major streets such as Kingsley, First Avenue, special attention should be at the base of the parking lot. The building should be masked by a habitable liner building, and the deck should be screened from view by a designed facade. And that is specifically the purpose of the multi-component project that we have here tonight. It's intended to make the garage not visible from the public street on those 2 sides. It includes habitable uses as required by the waterfront redevelopment plan, and the height is again reduced compared to the underlying plan. So in essence, the goal here is that a new public parking structure, which will be, again, a certain portion of this will be for the residents, but over 2/3 of it will be public parking, will be provided at the site that has been anticipated for a public parking garage since 2002, using standards that have been modified to be really lessen the scale of the structure. And even so, even given that, the master developer is proposing a site that does not max out the height or bulk standards that could be at the site. So I just want to provide that context here because the public garage here has always been an intended public purpose of the waterfront redevelopment plan. And so the plan that we are here tonight includes, that's really the crux of it. In addition, obviously, to the infrastructure that was just described, but it's really to set forward that important aspect of the plan.
Thank you. So the last presenter tonight will be Frank Minervini, who's our architect, who will get into the design of the building itself and what it's proposed to look like.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask a quick question, although, where's Kevin? Okay. If it's 200 parking spaces that are public in this, approximately in this parking garage, and again, this is obviously hypothetical, of those 200, can a percentage of those go to permit residential parking, or does it have to just be public? Because that's a whole area where people live and there's no parking.
So the spaces are going to be open to the public, but they aren't going to be owned by the city. They'll be owned by the developer, because the developer is the one that's paying to construct the deck. So there hasn't been a discussion about.
Okay, but that's not illegal, Kevin.
No, I think we
Okay.
have a discussion and reach an agreement on something like that.
Okay.
But it would, to be clear though, in order for the
I'm not
deck,
asking anyone to commit to anything, I'm just
Correct.
asking, is this a potential dialogue, if this project goes anywhere? That is all I'm asking.
yeah, and I just wanted to clarify, obviously the parking is not free, right? The parking fees have to be used to pay the debt service on the building. Okay, Mr. Minervini.
Hi.
So we've been waiting to see what the building's really going to look like. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for the record and then telling us about the design of the building, including the parking component and the residential component.
Sure, I'm Frank Minervini, principal at MBMK Architecture, also based in Hoboken. Just one thing to start, the drawings that were submitted in '24, we have made some slight revisions to the architecture, we think for the better, and that's mostly in terms of the color palette. I'll get into that a little later on. But to start, that's a view at the intersection of First Avenue and Kingsley, and this section right here being the lobby. I'll go through all the floor plans briefly, as well as the architecture more in depth. Our next sheet is an overview, has all the floor plans, both the garage and the residential portion. Briefly again, what you see here in the blue is the garage portion, which is the vast majority of the square footage of the structure. So I'm going to discuss the garage first, and then quickly come back and discuss the residential portions. As Jennifer and our planner had mentioned, it's 54 residential units on the L-shaped portion of the building that is screening on the two street sides, the parking garage, the public parking garage, as well as what we're committing to is 200 parking spaces. And we're using that number because that's part of the plan. However, we're confident we can get more. What drawn is more than that, but what happens often in design development as we move into construction drawings, mechanical systems sometimes take up space. So just to be clear and conservative, we're giving you the number 200. The likelihood we're going to be in the 215 range, so just for the record.
And when you say that's not the total number of spaces in the deck, that's the total that would be available for public use?
Correct, and I'll get into it a little bit further, but there is 97 parking spaces for the 54 residential units. It was mentioned that the parking garage is 5.5 stories, and why is that a half a story? So this diagram here, this isometric drawing, shows the concept of a parking plan, of the parking design. The most efficient way to do a parking design, car parking design in this size, at this approximate size, is to also park on the ramps, which allow us to travel from one floor to another. So you'll see these sections, these angled, which are ramps, but the cars also park on that. So that, in effect, gives you a half a floor at the end of it. Okay, so I'll start with the larger plan, and again, I'll talk about the parking first. This is Kingsley Street. This is First Avenue. This is the parking for the Empress Hotel. You can see here clearly, based on the Google Earth photograph, the Empress Hotel, just for a context. The parking garage itself is set back 10 feet from our shared property line with this parking lot that is used by the Empress Hotel. And it's set back 18 inches from the shared property line from the Empress. And the purpose of the 10 feet is it's several-fold. First of all, there's a wall there that won't be impacted. So our building, our parking garage, as well as the residential, will have no impact on this section in terms of construction. And here, by setting the foundation and the remaining of the building back 18 inches, allows us to design a foundation system that is cantilevered, meaning that we don't have to go dig down right at that property line. So we could dig down further away from the property and have the foundation kind of like I've described it as a diving board. People have seen a diving board, so it kind of cantilevers over. The purpose of that, and it's more difficult to construct, but it ensures no negative impact to any of the property along the property line and the structures along the property line with the Empress Hotel. The blue section, as I mentioned, is the parking garage, and that is our phase one for this building. So this building, the garage will be built first. It's a precast concrete structure. We've all seen similar designs and in working place. This will be built, this section that is entering, allows us to enter from First Avenue. So this small L shape will be constructed first. Our exit and egress here, entry and egress is right, as I mentioned, is off First Avenue. That's where all the vehicles will enter for both the public and on the upper floors for the residential portion, which will come later. The rest of the parking garage is very similar to what we've seen. All the spaces are at the required dimensions. We will have, of course, all the required EV spaces and handicap spaces. That's all shown on the plan. This is as we go further up the plan, so what we're calling our second floor. And very simply with the garage, the circulation just is in a rectangular shape. Again, we've all experienced that. We're built 10 feet off, again, as I mentioned, this property line here. And there's a 10-foot dimension also, which I'll get into a little further in the residential portion. There's a 10-foot distance between the majority of the residential building and the parking garage. That allows for the construction to be phased and the building's not touching. It also allows for natural ventilation rather than mechanical ventilation for the parking garage. So second and third floor plans, and again, you can see the images down here of the Empress Hotel. These are the layouts of the residential units as we envision them. That may change. I won't really discuss that now. But at the roof of the garage, this section is, and it's in accordance with the redevelopment agreement, that there's going to be 5,000 square feet approximately of outdoor space. So that's a requirement as per the agreement, and we've left that space, which will be landscaped later on in the process. Architecture. This is slightly, actually more than slightly different than you've seen. What we've done is we've changed the color palette. First of all, we've reduced the building from the original design, and you've seen that, but we've changed the color palette that we initially submitted in '24, which had a lot of grays, and understanding the pushback that we've heard from both the City Council as well as the Planning Board. We've now designed a building that is more in the tan, champagne, and neutral colors.
Quiet the chambers, please.
We think it's a contemporary interpretation of what the redevelopment plan, waterfront redevelopment plan calls for. I won't get into that now, but there's the colors that are required or suggested in the redevelopment plan from 2002 really don't meet the modern standard in terms of how you would apply to a modern building. So we think this is a good solution. It still keeps the spirit of a coastal community. These colors kind of represent what materials would be if they were faded and affected by the coast and the weather. And I'll get further in, it'll make more sense. Importantly, the south elevation, this is the facade that is facing the parking lot of the Empress. So as I mentioned, this is set back 10 feet, and what you see here is all opening so to allow for natural ventilation for the parking garage. When designing a parking garage, it's always best if you can have the ventilation be through natural methods rather than mechanical. And what we've done here is we've introduced a mural, and this is, we think, a placeholder, but it's meant to be something, again, kind of coastal and ocean themed. So that's what we've shown here.
And so by placeholder, to be clear, a mural will be proposed in the future, which will be reviewed by the appropriate city commissions. The mural, I can tell you one thing, will not be this mural. It'll be something else, but that will be in consultation with the city and its Arts Commission.
This is the facade, we're calling it drawing number 2, of the parking garage that is nearest to the property line, as I mentioned, 18 inches away, at the shared property line with the Empress Hotel. This box represents the biggest mass of the Empress Hotel. And then there's this section and this section, which, so the Empress Hotel is kind of a U shape, but the fingers of the U are smaller in height relative to the hotel itself. So that's just a relative, the purpose of this, of course, so we can see what it looks like, but it also shows you the relative height difference. I think an important drawing, this one especially, number 2, this again explains the garage section here, the ramps as I discussed, and then the residential portion of the building. So the residential portion of the building will screen the parking garage on both of the street sides as required. It's just a blow up. Materials I talked about, we've changed from the original. These are more neutral colors, more, we think, the earth tones here are softer. The building, we've broken up what could be considered a a larger mass, this longer facade by introducing recessed balconies here, 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 and here, and the same as you go down First Street, First Avenue. And what that does, it helps break up the mass, as I mentioned. It allows for shadowing, allows for a change of materials, which we think it makes the building much more visually interesting. Also, what has changed is we've got a more significant cornice. This is an extended cap to the building. We think this building should have a cap, so there's a base, a middle, and a top. The base of the building, this section here, is where the residential lobby will be. We've made the corner element, we've acknowledged the corner by giving this more glass. So the corner element is lighter. It's just good architectural practice to acknowledge the corner where you can. Back here is the entry to the public garage. And some more images of what we envision the building to look like. Again, we think it's much improved over what was initially submitted in '24. The materials are, we think, more in keeping with what has been happening in Asbury Park. The scale has been broken down in terms of the building's overall length and mass, and we think we've given it a much more perceptible base, middle, and top. With that, I'm happy to answer questions. Let me go through my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything. The building will have a long list of sustainable features. I can give you a few for now that has yet to be determined it will be determined as we get further into design development. But for sure, we've talked about the stormwater detention, which is super important, especially given our location. LED lighting, high efficiency HVAC and appliances, and Energy Star rated windows. There's a long list of things that this building will have that'll keep it as sustainable as possible. That's it.
Okay, a couple of questions about the parking. I think you answered most of them. So there's no compact spaces, they're all regular spaces.
That's correct.
There's how many ADA spaces?
So the ADA, I have my list here, but I will tell you that we meet the requirements, but the ADA spaces are, pardon me, let me get it here. Required, so we've got van accessible, so that's an ADA. We've got 2, 5, 6 spaces there. And then we've got accessible spaces that are both EV and accessible, and there's 4 of those. We meet the state requirements with, again, all the ADA mandates as well as EV mandates.
Okay, how many EV ready?
So EV ready, let's see. Steve, do you remember?
Look at the table.
Yeah, so the table gives me the EV space that we're providing, not the EV ready. So you mean make ready, or are we talking about what's going to be constructed with the bulk construction?
Give me both.
Okay, well, I don't know the make ready yet,
Okay.
but I can give you, as I just mentioned, I can give you the
I will answer for the make ready. We are working with JCP&L on the electric load coming to the building, and that's kind of going to determine how many additional spaces we need.
Okay.
I estimated 24 additional EV spaces would probably be able to be built in the future.
Okay,
and that's my chart says here as I look at it.
no tandem.
No tandem spaces.
The entry to the public garage and obviously the exit on First Avenue up towards Ocean Avenue.
Correct.
What type of warning system is going to be for people walking by that cars are pulling in or pulling out?
I don't think that's been determined, but I can tell typically what we do is there'll be, and I'm not going to suggest that that'll be here. We might do something even more significant. But at a minimum, we can put in an LED light that's based into the concrete slab. So when a car is coming that in or out, or the door opens, it flashes. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be the case, but we will meet those requirements and make this as safe as possible.
Okay. The garage is natural ventilation, so there's going to be openings. Is there going to be any light spillage onto the Empress or the swimming pool from cars pulling in or pulling out?
The wall that separates the Empress and the parking garage is a solid wall. We are at the property line there, so none of our natural ventilation happens at that point. It happens on the side of the building that is along First Avenue that separates it from the residential portion, and it also happens at the 10-foot setback where the parking lot is for the Empress. And in that case, we have, and I can go back to the drawing and make it a little more clear. So this is the facade that is facing the garage, sorry, the parking lot of the Empress. You can see this is all open, which is natural ventilation, but we've raised the height of the parapet. That's the purpose of this little diagram. So it's 4 feet, so that even a larger SUV pulls up to that parking space, the light will not spill over to the other property.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mayor, just, we want to go back and clarify on the compact spaces. I
Go
think
ahead.
there is a portion that will be compact, but it'll be below below what is the permitted maximum for compact in the deck. But we'd rather have some that are compact so we don't lose spaces. if they
Apologies
don't.
for that.
But that will be determined in the final design.
Okay.
But there is a limit on the number that we can have for the redevelopment plan, and we'll stay under that limit.
Thank you.
I briefly talked about the residential portion. It's the L, and I mentioned it's 12 units per floor, 6 units on the ground floor. It also has at that ground floor, adjacent to the entry to the parking garage, we've got a loading dock built into the building. So any of the loading from move-ins or move-outs or anything for the building will happen off-site. Sorry, off public street, on-site.
And you probably said that, I probably missed it. So it's 54 units. How many 1, 2, and 3s?
Yes. So on sheet A1, I've got a unit breakdown. We've got 13 one-bedroom units, 4 one-bedrooms with dens, 20 two-bedroom units, 8 two-bedrooms with dens, and 9 three-bedroom units.
Thank you. Questions?
I have nothing.
Thank you, Mayor. We look forward to
stay around.
We're not leaving, no. But we do look forward to working with the city on this. And as I mentioned before, we are requesting 2 subsequent developer agreements, one for the parking and one for the residential, so that they can be built in phases, and that the flood mitigation requirements would be built in so that the residential could not start construction until the flood mitigation is ready to start construction and has its permits. But we thank you for your time this evening.
Yep. And you might as well stay there because I
Yes.
think you're going to
Yes.
get a lot of questions. So we're going to go into the public session in a minute. So I'm going to ask, and the officer is going to enforce that there be no cross conversations. Everybody be respectful. If your 3 minutes are up, finish your sentence, but don't make it a war and peace sentence. There are a couple paragraphs, finish the sentence. And besides this presentation, you can ask or talk about anything else going on in the city. So, Anthony?
All right, we are now on to public participation. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
Second.
All in favor? Public participation is now open. Any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and there will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker.
Dan Shanamayo, Asbury Avenue. I've been here for 22 of the 24 years that Asbury Partners has failed to meet its obligations on the waterfront in the redevelopment to rehabilitate the casino, the power plant, convention center, and Paramount. Let me tell you, some of you that don't know me, I've been doing real estate in Manhattan for 40 years. I've worked for almost every developer there is, Trump, Vornado, Related, SL Green, Brookfield, you name it. I know them all, Maclo, and I'll tell you about developers. They look at their bottom line, their pocket. They don't care about you. Now, I've read Tommy DeSeno's brief that he's put, whether it's Madison Marquette or Asbury Partners. We signed 24 years ago, we made a deal with the devil, but that's water under the bridge. All we wanted was for our historic buildings to be rehabilitated. 24 years later, they are still not done. There's 6 more years left in this redevelopment plan. Right now, the developers, the master developer and the sub-developers are squeezing that lemon. They're going to get all the juice out. They're running the clock out, just like Trump. They're running the clock out. Those buildings will not be done in 6 years. I wouldn't, if it was up to me, I wouldn't let Asbury Partners get a cup of coffee in this town, let alone build more condos in the waterfront. No more condos, no more building in the waterfront redevelopment program until Asbury Partners or Madison Marquette, who's ever responsible to do what we wanted done. We gave the quid pro quo, right? You could have this land, you could build the condos. They're making tens, hundreds of millions of dollars of profit. I mean, I was looking at a pro forma for a 1 million square foot development in Manhattan today for my own work. I'm telling you what they're making. Millions and millions and millions. And they could fix these buildings. Oh, so they're going to give us, nice, a pipe to the ocean to protect their own property. And who's paying for it? We are paying for it. They're bonding it out of our money, out of school taxes. I told this council, this was left at your lap. You are the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but you don't know it. Use it. Don't let these people do anything. Don't let them get a cup of coffee. A developer is not your friend. Thank you.
Can I get extra time to raise this? Yeah. I think everyone recognizes me. I'm Charles Latta. I live at 35 Charles Court in Ocean Township, New Jersey. I'm the Facebook group administrator for Save Asbury Park's history. Facebook group is now 5,000 members strong. We've had a very strong grassroots response. We're adding 50 group members a day. We've had over 600,000 page views in the last month. This issue right now is very important to everybody in this region. The one thing I will say is, iStar, like most developers, takes their profit up front and drags their feet on their responsibility. We had a post on the fact that the beer garden will not open this spring for rooftop beer consumption on Wesley Lake. That post had 26,000 views. The most popular post ever in the history of our Facebook group. I had accurately portrayed the villain here as the developer who did not anticipate the drainage problems that were going to occur with all the development, and I still believe their plan is inadequate. Down in Lavallette, New Jersey, as after the result of Sandy, they rebuilt all the storm drainage and put electric pumps to allow the water to be ejected at high tide, and that should be considered in this new plan. Now, on another matter, I would like to ask the city if it would be possible for me to get from the city copies of the appraisals that were done previously when these buildings were sold on the waterfront. Is that something that could happen?
I didn't hear you, Chuck.
I would like to get for myself and our group copies of the prior appraisals when these properties were sold from the city to the developer.
File an open request.
Okay, I'll do that.
I think it would be quicker.
All right, and then the other thing, I was predicting on my Facebook page a month ago after the high school meeting that Madison Marquette was not going to spend 11.7 because a simple AI search would let you know that under the fact that the convention hall is a National Registered Historic Site, any improvements that use federal funds like the boardwalk money come with a very strict guideline on the type of repairs and meeting architectural guidelines, et cetera. So I would ask the city now, in anticipation of this money not being spent, to be lobbying the state and federal legislators to make a new law that would allow this money, when it is returned to the state, to have a 5-year window for the city to get it back. Because when we're successful in suing Madison Marquette under condemnation, that 11.7 million would be wonderful to have in the city's coffers for repairs once they own the buildings. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's...
Thank you. Wait a second.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My name's Chris Turk. I'm a resident at 1100 and a half First Avenue. And I also have a boardwalk, shop on the boardwalk, Chris Turk Swim, which opened last April. I'm here because I care deeply about the city, not just as a place to live or work, but as a cultural identity that is quickly slipping away. Right now, next to the Empress Hotel, one of the most iconic and historically significant LGBTQA plus landmarks in our community, we are seeing yet another large gray beige residential building go up. For most people from the community, that is one of the last safe spaces we have in New Jersey. And this development makes me terrified we are going to lose it. You know how well it went for Kim Marie's. 54 rental units and now another structure that looks like a shipping container stacked on top of our history. I have also seen the plans for our other properties, which also follow this abysmal, boring color trend that never should have happened. And I have to ask, is that what Asbury Park is becoming? Because Asbury Park has never been gray. Asbury Park is music, it's art, it's rebellion, expression, color, identity, and freedom. It's our safe space. The city was built by creatives, by outsiders, by people who came here to be seen, not hidden behind blank, lifeless facades. Yet what we're building now feels completely disconnected from that spirit. These developments are stripping away the very thing that makes Asbury Park valuable in the first place, its personality. We have design guidelines. Okay. We have design guidelines, we have a visual history, we even have designated color zones like the yellow-red quadrant that are being ignored. Imagine a world where our city is filled with colorful, beautiful homes, true to Asbury, welcoming to everyone to their favorite vacation destination, similar to a San Juan, Aruba, or even the Vive apartments are at least a little bit colorful. But Asbury Park is not any city. So I'm asking the council to consider something simple but meaningful. Paint the town Asbury. Let's require developers to incorporate color, creativity, and artistic collaboration into these projects. Let's bring in local artists. Let's design buildings that reflect our culture instead of erasing it. Because once we lose that identity, we don't get it back. Development is important, I understand that, but development without soul is destruction in disguise. We are not just building structures, we are shaping what the city feels like for generations to come. So I urge you, don't let Asbury Park become a row of gray boxes. Let's build something that actually looks like us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Dabney, 400 D Lake Drive, right here in town. You know, just to kind of reiterate what a lot of people are saying, it's really alarming that a lot of these color choices are happening when there's different things put into place to make sure our town doesn't lose its identity. And more things like this are taking over, and it's just terrifying that we're going to be losing the things that make us unique. I don't think gray or champagne, as you put it, is inviting or as enjoyable as you think it might be. We are built on music, we are built on being unique, and if you put something like that next to a dance club and an outside music venue, we're only going to have people calling and complaining about noise. Kim Marie's, a lot of people used to hang out in the alley. It was one of our favorite outside spaces. And I know it sounds weird to people who don't know, oh, you like hang out in an alley? That was our space. That was our outside space where we could just hang out. And now people who moved into condos that look kind of similar to this have taken it away from us. Sick and tired of losing spaces for locals to kind of hang out in. How about proposed green space, maybe a garden or a market for people to congregate together? There used to be places on the boardwalk, pavilions for people to hang out in. Where is that? I understand that there are proposals and we have condo quotas that are in the contracts, but why don't you consider quality of life for the people that actually live here now, who have been investing their heart and soul into this community for years? That does not reflect the people that live here. This room is a collective of people who actually care. That says, I want to move somewhere where everyone's the same. Asbury's not a place where people are the same. We're unique, we're weird, we're colorful, and we're going to be really loud about this because that's not what we want.
Thank you.
Yeah. Joseph DiCamillo, Summerfield Avenue. My father had a business here for many years before the redevelopment. I've been here 5 years myself. I'm a musician, member of the local community in many different ways, becoming a frequent flyer at these events here. I'll punch my card on the way out. I'll try to get this more concise than I usually do, but I do believe this project is just supporting the continued erosion and homogenization of the local culture here. I think that's pretty obvious, both demographically and visually. the LGBTQ plus community, the musicians and arts community, all the small business owners that made this place unique. They are the people that revitalized the town. They're on the slogans on the t-shirts. They're on all the posters. They're the reason we have tourism here. They're the reason why everybody comes here to spend their money and invest in this place, both financially and emotionally. In another 5 years, your constituents will not be any of us with this and more of this down on the waterfront. To the developers, the people here with the interest of the developers in mind, if you are working for them, I understand you think you make concessions to us within the you're working within the parameters of some of the stuff. You're making a couple things under, a couple of things within some of the guidelines of the building and all that, as if that's like a generous thing. We don't want a nice mural. We're over here arguing about the colors, which obviously is not. That doesn't look like any of those buildings behind you guys. I don't know if that's clear. I don't think a mural is going to solve the problem here. I don't think anybody in this room, and I'd wager almost anybody even close to the median income in the city with the area code, with the zip code they live in, wants anything like this. None of us want this at all. It's very obvious this is all just in the interest of the developers and for maximum profit there. There's the Paradise nightclub right next door. The same thing did happen with Kim Marie's. The alley got shut down. You're going to have noise complaints nonstop, and then who are we going to bend to? Those people, we're going to lose another public space. We're going to lose another piece of culture. It just keeps happening. I'm usually more fired up here, but I'm trying to keep this very concise. I mean, the lot, it should be a full public parking garage. That would solve most of the parking issues and actual real problems on this side of this part of the city. That would be what it should be. I thank you for giving us 200 spaces. We should have all of them, actually. What I want to really know is what input do we actually have? I know we come up here and we get impassioned about this. What input do we actually have here when we do this? What input does the council, you guys actually have to approve or deny these things? Because you have a whole city of people that are feeling like we're just on a sideshow, just watching this happen every single week. We're getting told what to do. It's borderline, and no offense, it's not personal, I won't make this incendiary, but it is insulting to come in here and have someone come and tell us that our city needs to have a champagne-colored building, and we just have to sit here and watch that be the case, as if we have any input in that. It just feels very powerless. Everyone that's here, there's not enough of us. If you're here now, tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone that cares about this to show up. If you do not show up, this will happen anyway. We need way more numbers than this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ben. You can find me at 218 on 2nd Avenue. I have very specific questions. Councilmember Abez Anderson asked if the water management program would be paid by the taxpayers, and everybody here said no. I just want to be clear that this will be paid entirely privately by AP Block 3904 Garage, Urban Renewal LLC and its affiliates without any support from grants or taxpayer funds.
You want to finish all your questions so we don't take your time?
Sure. Are you guys
Yep.
Okay. With the new parking garage, will more streets on the east side of town become permit only for in-town residents? Will the developers give discounts to residents on parking? And what will the price of parking be? How many spots will be removed to build this parking lot? So what is the net amount of parking spaces? Can the design be more suitable for a town with the historical impact and cultural diversity of Asbury Park? What is the average rental price of the 54 units? I'm asking because Surf House is above $4,200 and the condos are close to $12,000. So are these affordable, and do they add to the social fabric of Asbury Park? Will this building need pilings? And if so, what do 3904 Garage Urban Renewal LLC and its affiliates do to prevent and protect surrounding buildings from any damage? That's all my questions.
I start with the last one.
I can answer one of them.
Yes, which one?
The net amount of parking spots lost on the street, it's too early to tell.
No, I'm asking because they're destroying the parking spaces and then they're adding 200. So it's like they're taking out 60 to build 200.
I thought you meant because once they built, would we lose any parking spots on the street? I was going to say that's
No, I'm asking.
I know, so I'm apologizing.
No, you're fine.
That's good. The lawyer answered the important question.
Now I'll start by saying, because of the setup of the room, in order for me to really talk into the mic, I kind of have to turn my back to you.
That's fine. I can hear you.
Okay. So we'll start with the last one, pilings. My understanding is that the building will not be built using pilings. I'm looking at our engineer. That's correct. So they recognized that the way to do it here is to use spread footings. Okay, making sure I got that right.
Okay.
My law degree did not cover the difference between pilings and spread footings. Okay, working backwards. Actually, I'll go back to the first one, without public funds. So we explained how the flood mitigation portion would be
Yes.
funded.
Yeah.
And that is through the issuance of redevelopment area bonds that are supported by a special assessment on the new construction in the waterfront.
Okay.
So it does not come out of the general obligation or general fund of the city of Asbury Park, and it does not come out of existing waterfront that was not built as part of the waterfront redevelopment area, and it does not come from any of the resident taxes that are in the rest of the city outside of the waterfront redevelopment area.
Is that Monmouth County included in New Jersey? I mean, is it taxpayer funded at all? Yes. Okay.
No, just so that we're clear.
Yeah.
We're talking about the flood mitigation component.
Yeah.
Is a special assessment on just the waterfront properties, just the new construction. So, but not on the rest of the city of Asbury Park. So that's the flood mitigation project. For the parking garage component, that is not coming, there's no grant from the city that's helping to fund that at all. There is a proposed special assessment and pilot that we will be requesting as part of it, because that puts the assessment on that then goes into the infrastructure program to help pay for infrastructure such as the flood mitigation program or such as the other infrastructure. So, for example, the replacement of all the stormwater facilities that has been ongoing for years here. You've seen kind of block by block in the waterfront.
Yeah.
That is part of the overall, what we call the infrastructure program here in Asbury Park, that is supported by the special assessments on the new construction that then funds the streets, the curbs, the stormwater facilities that are currently being done. And we're proposing to expand that to include the flood mitigation project as well.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that you're taking this project on as opposed to the city of Asbury Park itself?
Currently, the master developer is not obligated to take on the Wesley Lake flood mitigation project. That's not an obligation. We would be agreeing to take on that project instead of the city itself. That's correct.
Okay.
As part of this proposal.
All right.
Let me see if I can get a few others on here. As far as the exact amount of the parking spaces and exact amount of the rentals, we are putting together and have put together some financial numbers that we will submit to the city for their review as part of the overall discussions for a pilot. That is a separate ordinance that we're not seeking approval on this evening.
Okay.
And
No, I only brought it up because you guys brought it up so many times that it was going to be 200 extra spaces. And I just know you guys are obviously destroying spaces to make spaces. So what's the net number?
We currently own that parking lot. It's not required to be open for parking. It is not owned by the city. It is parking that the master developer put in place sort of as an interim measure. And I believe there are 93 parking spaces.
Okay, so it's net going to be like 100, 110.
For the public, net 100 and, yeah, between 100 and 110.
Okay, so yeah, so it's about half the size of what you, okay, perfect. Next one.
I think I've covered everything that you asked. Did I miss one?
Structures at the.
I'm sorry. I mentioned that the rents and the parking fees are both something that is being put together in financial performance.
So is it going to be more affordable than the surf house?
I don't know. The units, there's a mix of units.
I mean, are you basically going to try to make it affordable enough to keep the social fabric of this town?
I personally don't know.
Okay, no, I just wanted to get an answer. That's what I'm,
But it will be submitted to the city.
all right. And
as
then,
part of that consideration.
yeah, just the design, but I think enough people have talked about the design, so.
Noted, thank you.
Hi there. My name is Jamie Katzusner. I own a home at the Vive, so we're directly across the street. So we're probably, us and the Empress are most impacted by the project. So our concerns really are the height, the girth. We're concerned, at the last meeting, I think there was some conversation, it didn't come up at this meeting, about the fact that the parking deck was proposed to be a separate lot. And my personal concern, if you were to subdivide, if you were to permit a non-conforming subdivision and allow them to separate the parking deck from the residential development, is that the residential development is the profitable part and the parking deck is not. I understand that the parking is required under the redevelopment plan, but I'm concerned that if you segregate those two parcels, you're going to have a parking deck that doesn't generate money and is vulnerable to being abandoned like the other not profitable portions of town. So I guess my question is, what will be done to mitigate against the height, the girth, and the possibility that this developer will allow an unprofitable parking deck to lay fallow, just like some of the other aspects of town, like the casino building, like the Paramount, that are not being addressed?
I will address this, Mayor, if it's okay with you. I'll address the subdivision. You are correct that back in the fall of 2024, we proposed to subdivide the lot into 2 lots. We have subsequently decided not to do that.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear that.
So we're not pursuing the subdivision of the lot into 2 tax lots.
Okay, and so I guess the rest of my question is, as to the height, does it exceed 60 feet?
The residential portion is just under 60 feet.
Okay. Is there any possibility of the developer committing to make it less tall and less wide? Because what's happening with this project is it's consuming pretty much the entire view of everybody from the Vive. You know, it's taking away our light. It's going to materially change the space. And my understanding of the code is that new projects are encouraged, as with the redevelopment plan, not to encroach upon light, space, impose greater congestion. Has there been any thought or consideration to mitigating against those elements of the project?
So the redevelopers actually, as you saw, already reduced the project from the 8 stories down to the 5 stories for the residential. It is permitted to be at 8 stories, but has reduced it from 8 to 5. And that brought down the size of the garage as well. And, you know, we're at the point where the garage is being built to provide the 200 spaces that we are required to provide, plus spaces for the residential. So we have reduced it down. If you keep taking floors off, you lose even more parking. And so we would reach the point where you wouldn't have enough space to fulfill our obligation to build the public parking.
Well, I personally am okay with you building less parking because it doesn't honestly, even that parking lot currently doesn't get used. So I'm not sure why we need all of that parking, but I recognize my time is late.
Hi, my name is Chris Olith. I'm at 306 Deal Lake Drive. I really appreciate everything that has been said already tonight, and I just kind of repeat some things because I think there's a lot of solidarity in this room, and it's beautiful. I came here with pages of prepared comments, but I'm not going to read any of them because I just rather speak from the heart. And, you know, as a person before me commented, when I sat here in frustration hearing that Marsh Construction was no longer going to be working with MAR to work on the Paramount Theater and Convention Center as they originally had planned, it's heartbreaking because we have an opportunity to spend $13 million on historic renovation and preservation in Asbury Park that it sounds like we're going to be giving back to the state of New Jersey at the end of the year because we're not going to be able to figure out how to get this developer to spend it. And so as I sat here in frustration, I just was gazing at the beautiful photos of Asbury Park behind you. And really, what are we becoming? I mean, that's the Asbury Park we know and love and why we all came here. So, you know, if we can't really honor what we are and how we've been built, then why will people continue to stay here and why will people continue to come? So, you know, if we continue to put up the plastic buildings, as our friend Steve Dante has said, you know, these plastic buildings, white plastic, over and over, we're really losing that historical integrity. There is something, in case folks aren't aware in this room, it's a term in the developer sector called demolition by neglect. That is what's happening in our city. Demolition by neglect. And as someone previously commented tonight, you are the only folks that can prevent this from happening. Please figure out a way to get these buildings back for us. Thank you.
Hi, Kristen O'Mara, Ocean Grove, part of Save Our Structures Asbury Park, sosap.org, and we invite anyone listening to visit our website to learn more and get involved. Watching another presentation of new architecture It's clear the developer's determined to throw up more trash for a steep profit over people, over community, and over place. Lots of people here tonight have made an argument for this place. And the people in this room here, we're Asbury Park. This is Asbury Park, not the randos who roll in for the weekend and then roll back home. The developers already made clear they've absolutely no interest in echoing the existing architecture like our imperiled buildings. I worked on a campus with a similar style, and the building was a mistake. It was built at the command of a wealthy donor. He's dead, it's still ugly. And people mock it to this day. It was a regrettable period in our time. And welcome to Asbury's new wave of brutalist architecture. Tonight we learned the developers now announced the builder who was supposed to move forward with the grant monies backed out. To many of us, this feels like yet another stall. More excuses while our beloved historic buildings are left to decay and quite literally fall into the ocean. Demolition by neglect is going to have a very bad ending here. There are too many people in this room who care, and there are more at home who are watching. A strong historic preservation commission could have prevented a lot of this. And I think it's high time one's created and approved so the city can get off the back foot with developers. We're Asbury Park. We need them to know that. We need them to remember that. And I truly hope Judge Solomon agrees with Tom DeSeno's opinion and that this council is prepared to throw down hard, push back hard on that developer. I like the idea of no coffee for you. Take back the casino. Everyone in this room is watching. People at home are watching. We care and we're not going away. Thank you.
How you doing? Just one quick question. My name's Adam, Bangs Avenue. Were there any studies done or anything about the outlet of the water? Is that attached to the power plant? What percentage of the power plant's going to get affected by that? That's my only question.
It's not.
Don't understand your question because we didn't mention the power plant and anything to do with it.
Yeah, that sluice and the outlet mechanism, it's right by the power plant. Is that going to be touched at all?
No.
power
plant. It's 40 feet away.
Okay.
I'm saying 40. It could be 20. It could be 60.
Because it appears as you walk by that everything is attached, kind of.
Yeah, but no.
So it wouldn't be affected? Any construction would not affect it at all?
When you walk by it, look at the square gate going out of the weir and follow it straight down, and it goes straight to the ocean.
Because my only concern is this is a play to knock it down by accident, so it's not close though, right?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Mark Babatek, and I live west side on Monroe Avenue. And I have a little question for the developer and a much bigger issue. The little question is, since I ride motor scooters, do you have parking planned for motor scooters and motorcycles? You have things for bicycles planned in the garage?
There's no public bicycle parking spaces in the garage, and there are no separate spaces designed as of now for two-wheel vehicles. Scooters, motorcycles.
Thank you. That's not my big issue, though. My big issue is, I think I know the answer to this question, and I don't like it. I'm sure you have design standards about how many kids in school are likely to be living in the 54 apartment units, and I don't know what the answer to that is. But my question is, how many dollars is this project going to contribute to our school system in Asbury while our property taxes have doubled in the last 5 years? Now, I think the answer is zero, so if you have a different answer, speak up. But council members, I'm not naive. I understand your hands are tied by the pilot rules, et cetera. But to tie this together with what the first gentleman who spoke tonight said, why should we be in a hurry to be giving Madison Marquette and whatever their affiliates' names are a fast track to this project when they're not doing their part on their end? We are paying and paying and paying and seeing nothing for it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Spencer. I live on 1018 Fifth Avenue. Almost everything I want to say has already been said. I just, over the weekend, I went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we were in the heart of it for a convention, and we went walking around the area, and I fell in love with it because I realized that a lot of time, energy, and effort went into it, and it showed me that not redevelopment doesn't mean vinyl siding, or doesn't have to mean vinyl siding or 50 Shades of Brown rendered in Minecraft. Like, it means retaining the buildings and still maintaining. It showed me that you can redevelop and still maintain the town's identity. And it was, I got choked up thinking about it. I wanted to offer my time, though, to the council because Joey brought up a great question but had a lot to say. We all come here, weekly or try and come here weekly. How much of this actually makes a difference? Does your opinion sway any differently? Are we wasting our breath? Are we going to just have brown and gray monoliths everywhere? How much of this actually matters?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep, I think public participation means a lot to all of us. I know it means a lot to me, so I deeply appreciate it.
I'm just going to say one thing, like super briefly. Part of this process and why we're not voting on it is to hear the concerns of colors or roofs or corners or blah, 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 or the guy who mentioned it's really a net of 120 spots, not 200. Thing of something, it didn't equate in my head, but once he said it, I got it. And then to go back and have another discussion with the developer. So yeah, to John's point, I think the reason we do these presentations and then wait a period of time to vote on it is to hear what you're saying and see if we can make modifications, but also recognizing we are extremely bound by the 2002 design standards that include colors, and later agreements with the casino and the Paramount that we've all heard about ad nauseum. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. And I just want to say, listening to you, it matters to me. I want to know what you're feeling because I have to make a decision. And I have to vote based on what I'm being told from the developers, but also what you have to say because you're residents and it's impacting you. And so it's important to me, and I appreciate each and every one of you coming to the mic and sharing your concerns. It helps me in my decision. So I thank you.
Let me just say something just in case so nobody gets mad later. If anybody's getting up to speak a second time, there is no second time. Right. So, yeah, sorry. Thank you.
My name's Patrick Cardone at 1306 Second Avenue. I have a couple thoughts. A lot of them have been said already. I'd love to see something more colorful. I do want to point out that I'm glad to see that it's not condos. It's going to be a rental building because most of the condos that go up get bought by people who don't actually occupy them, and it's just a town of empty buildings. And hopefully this will bring people who actually are going to live and spend their time in this community. But my main concern is the proximity to the Empress Hotel and the Paradise nightclub, where a lot of people in this room go to meet their friends, their neighbors, and hang out with them. And I'm curious about the wall on that parking garage. That's a solid wall. Is there any kind of sound mitigation that's part of the design of that wall to insulate the potential noise from that nightclub? Because it is a nightclub. It is, a noisy place sometimes. And my concern is that the potential noise complaints from neighbors would have a negative effect on that, and that being an important space for this community.
There's a small section of the residential portion of the building that faces the Empress, the back of the pool area as you're describing. That we will mitigate sound on our side. For the garage, that is all a solid wall and no sound. I'm not too worried about the sound coming from the Empress into the garage.
Right.
It's really only the residential portion which we can take care of in terms of construction and design.
Okay, so there's insulation in those walls to insulate that sound.
Exactly.
Okay, and then The other question was that wall that faces the Empress Hotel seemed to be just kind of a big blank slate. Is there anything proposed for that in terms of something colorful maybe, or something like a mural, like the one that faces the south side of the building on the southwest side? Something, more interesting than a beige wall next to Paradise.
It's not at the moment, but I hear you.
Okay, that's all.
Good evening. I am Rebecca Carvalho. I live at 801 Kingsley Street, Unit 2, which is the Vive. I wanted to start by saying maybe different than other people, but to thank the redeveloper. I think they have the plans that were released in 2022. These are scaled down, and so I recognize that. So I just wanted to note that I do appreciate that. I have some thoughts, but I do really appreciate that. The flood mitigation project. Look, I have to say that I know people are talking a lot tonight about the casino and the Paramount, but that's not them. That's a separate entity. I know they have a formal name, but I think of it as iStar as the master developer. And, when they make a project, they actually do get it done, to me, which is different than what's happening on the boardwalk. And so I think, again, I'm one of the properties that I think, if I understand the taxing, will be paying for the flood mitigation project. But, no one likes paying taxes, but they do if it's gonna help our flooding issues and help not just the buildings that are there, but the buildings that will ultimately be constructed and the land, that would be great. My place got flooded during September a couple years ago. It did not flood during Sandy. So I think that's really necessary. I love that they would be part of it to solve that problem. So look, I think they know that my concern mostly has been with the parking structure. I think it's smaller. I like that there's going to be something on the side because I recognize that now it's not right on Asbury Ave, but it is still going to be like a large wall, like just off of the Empress parking lot. So I do think it's nice that it has the openings, maybe some sort of mural. I would encourage anything that could make it even continue in the direction that it has come in the past couple years of being more interesting visually. And I recognize that has happened, but I would encourage more of it. My issue is more with, and not for the developer, but kind of to the town, parking more generally. And I know we really want parking spots, but I don't know if we're ever gonna have enough parking. But what we also have to think about is how people are going to be navigating the streets and making sure there's also sufficient places for loading and unloading. Both as it relates to the triangle lot that's currently being considered, but also with all of these new residences, you have many more delivery people coming, whether it's Amazon or anything like this. And we need to make sure that there's places for all of these delivery people to safely park. We can't have them double parking on these busy streets. There's pedestrians, bikers, scooterers, and I just worry that someone's gonna get hurt. So I would just really encourage the city to think about how we're gonna handle loading and unloading. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just to address the special assessment, I believe you said you live in the Vive, there would not be an additional assessment on the Vive, you are already paying.
Right.
I'm sorry, I lost you. Right, I was just saying, this would not create an additional assessment on the Vive. The Vive already, as part of what they're paying to the city, already pays a special assessment.
Jen, can I ask you a question to Rebecca's point? Because many years ago, obviously not Rebecca, the Vive complained about T-Dance. So when these units and obviously I'm aware of what is happening at Kim Marie's, when these units get sold, is there a document that says, hey, if you didn't know, you live next to a bar, or hey, if you don't know, you're gonna live next to a club, as opposed
I just want to make sure the answer's heard. So two
and it is
things.
not Rebecca, but it was people from the Vibe, but it was not Rebecca.
And the Empress actually, they turned their speakers.
They were great about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Chef was great
okay,
about it.
Okay, let's have, okay, we got it. I see
Just
the
to answer this, so these will be rentals, right? So it's not owner occupied, it'd be rentals, and I suppose there could be
An addendum.
something in the lease. But also, we're aware of that, right? My client owns the Asbury Hotel and faced issues with the city when we first opened, that we had to put in noise mitigation and turn down the volume on the outdoor space there. So, we understand the kind of the give and take that there is in the city with having spaces that provide entertainment and have noise, and then getting complaints from residents. So we've been on both sides of that.
That's not exactly answering my question.
But I'm saying, but to
maybe
answer
we
your
could
first
talk
question.
about something, should projects move forward?
Maybe we should
We should
have
talk
a
about
law
something.
that all real estate agents should tell the truth.
Maybe. I'm just saying, Jed, I'd like to put that on the agenda, so this is not like, it's like me complaining that I live across the street from a school. I bought across the street from a school.
It's the role of zoning.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Steve Dante, 300 Emory. To what you were just talking about, I live right above Lola's in the Steinbach building, and my lease stipulates that I'm aware of the noise. And I'm okay with it, and I like the energy. But the problem is when you have gray and white buildings, gray and white people tend to move in, and the first thing that they want to do is stop the noise, even though the noise was there before they were. Anyway, it's so ironic that here we are under these iconic pictures there, and they've gone to hell. And we're replacing it with this kind of stuff. And there's a tipping point when Asbury becomes Tinton Falls. And let Tinton Falls be Tinton Falls, but that's not why we moved here. If you walk down, as I do every morning with my dogs, to the east part of Cookman, you're like, what happened? Those Toll Brother buildings are so ugly, where an architectural detail is a plastic vent. Every building has like 6 plastic vents on it. I mean, it's really appalling. It really is. And it's going to be there forever. Well, actually not, because it seems like the first nor'easter that comes through, all the siding will blow off. I used to live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I think what made some of those side streets so special was the brownstones. And human size, made of stone, brick. There was a sense of permanence. This doesn't say permanence. Plastic doesn't say permanence. And when you walk down the street next to them, it doesn't make you feel good. And okay, so you can make some balconies and some step backs and try to make it visually interesting, but it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It really is. I just have one question, and that is about the other project that's slated for the parking lot of the Carousel, which is a terrible idea. I mean, you walk down Lake Avenue, and there's that vista, and if you care about architecture, if you care about this town, I mean, really? So my question is that a done deal? Has that been voted on?
No.
Okay. All right, so there's still hope that that can remain open space, perhaps?
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say the 2 minutes are up.
It's still in a discussion stage, nothing's been.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jameson Miller, 400 Deal Lake Drive. Been here since 2012. I know the city had received a letter from our This Week in Asbury Park friend, Mike. He couldn't make it today, but I'm going to read a short excerpt from his letter. I know some of this has been said, but I think it holds weight. The master developer behind tonight's project recently opened Surf House at 1150 Kingsley Street. The building directly relevant as a rent benchmark for what this developer builds and at what price point. RentCafe.com lists studios at Surf House starting at $3,095 per month, one bedroom starting at $3,265, two bedrooms start at $3,888. The median household income in Asbury Park is approximately $75,000 per year. The people who make this city function, the bartenders, cooks, hotel staff, lifeguards, retail workers, and hospitality staff who sustain the very businesses and institution this waterfront redevelopment is meant to serve, earn considerably less than the city median. They cannot live here. They're being systematically displaced by the very redevelopment the city is approving project by project. I think that's very powerful for what he said, and I know at the waterfront, our hands are tied. I hope the city takes focus on that. I have a lot of friends who have been priced out in the last decade, who've had to move on from Asbury Park because you just can't sustain that. So it's gotten very hard. Now, a couple of points of tonight. I've heard a lot of updates to designs and updating designs to fit contemporary times. There's been a lot of focus on contemporary this, that. And this was a project because the initial agreement was for a parking structure. They're set on that, but they want a lot of waivers for everything else, it seems like. And at what point are there so many waivers and so many things going on for us to, as a community, get, as our friend pointed out, maybe 100 parking spaces total that comes back into the community? That's very tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. There was a mention during statements from the attorney that a future pilot is coming as part of this project. That is also very scary. I thank what the council is doing, and I thank you for the updates at the beginning of the meeting about everything with the MAR and that agreement being done. So I really appreciate you guys taking in everything there. I just really hope that you guys hear the unified voice that you have from the community. I also want to throw out a heads up that on April 6th in this room at 7 p.m., there's another planning board meeting. The last one ran over. It is for another huge project like this, and during that meeting, they're scheduled to have the public comment session after the rest of the presentation finishes. So your voices can be heard April 6th about the planning board and a lot of this redevelopment, so please come out. I will be in Canada snowboarding, so I really hope the community shows up for it. Thank you.
Hi, I hope my Alexa Pro works. I'm usually very anxious. My name's Josh Oxman. I live at 510 Fifth Avenue in Asbury. I've been here for 6 years. I've been a resident of Monmouth County my entire life. I'm originally from Freehold. I specifically moved here for a sense of safety and for a sense of community, and I just beg you to think about the socio-political implications of approving something like this. The waterfront deal was approved in 2002. At that time, I was 7 years old. I am now 30. I did not know what the word socio-political meant when this was approved. The implications of another modern, boring-looking building in this town that will now overlook and cast a shadow upon the culture of the Paradise nightclub and Empress Hotel that is at the cornerstone of rebuilding this town in the first place, will have such a detrimental effect on queer people in this town and queer visitors. That is where I first found love. That's where people find love even now, from the 90s all the way until today. It is where people find community. It's where people go to dance. It's where people go to let off the anxiety from the week and the current fascist state that we live in America. That is a place of pure escapism and community, and why people want to come here and why people want to go down to Cookman and engage in our restaurants and our shops, because there's somewhere they can go at night. But you can't get that anywhere else in New Jersey. You can't get that in a Morristown. You can't get that in a Montclair. You can't get that anywhere else. And the last thing I would want this town to be is another place where, and I hate to use the word, but where like Bennies come to tell us how to live. and where Benny's come to tell us how to act and tell us what's appropriate and tell us how to behave. That's what happened next to Kim Marie's, and that's what's going to happen with Paradise. You're going to get one renter who moves down here from Manhattan or from Staten Island or from Westchester who likes the water but doesn't understand the culture, and then file noise complaint after noise complaint after noise complaint after noise complaint. Even if the intentions of the developer are to block sound, that doesn't matter. There are people out there who are out to attack queer people simply for existing. People will buy these units before they are done, not understand where they are buying property, and then complain about it and ruin the community. As somebody said before, this type of color attracts, plain people. And the last thing we need is plainness in a town that is what makes people want to come to New Jersey, not just come to Asbury, come to New Jersey. So please think about the implications of this before you hopefully don't approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Chrissy. I'm a resident at 1117 Asbury Avenue since 2009. I'm also the manager of Paradise. I do have several concerns, most of which probably will not be addressed, but directing my comment towards the lawyer who said, be good neighbors. I would like to say, I think we are good neighbors. We pay $160,000 a year in property taxes, while the Asbury Hotel pays $40,000. Okay? So you want to have a noise complaint because there's going to be renters living there for a building that's been established for 27 years in business. And so we have to lower our volume, which we did for the people at Vive. I think we've been a very good neighbor. They all get pool passes, they all get taken care of as much as we can. But to sit here and imply that we're not going to be a good neighbor because we can't turn the noise down, we are a nightclub. That is what we do. We have tea dances on Sunday. That is what we do. And nobody in this town seems to care that the businesses are getting shut out. You have Stella Marina who went out of business because things are too expensive. The rents are too high. Maybe people will come in and take the place, maybe they won't. But at some point, this town is going to be empty of all retail and restaurants because nobody's going to be able to park here or afford to come here. Or there's going to be noise complaints that's going to shut us down. So that's all I really have to say. I have a lot more to say, but I'm representing the business on that behalf, and I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Greg Pilling. I live on 09A 2nd Avenue. I've been here for a little over a decade, although I've been coming to Asbury for a lot longer than that. I agree with a lot of the things that people said, especially a lot of what JoJo said. But I just want to address the style. A lot of people have the style of the building and the color and stuff. A lot of people have referenced the buildings that are behind the panel. A lot of them are actually white. I don't think the problem is the color. The problem is just the lack of style of the building. It's the lack of detail. It's the lack of ornamentation. It's the lack of a distinct style. And so, we're talking a lot about colors. I don't care what color it is. I think it just needs to look more attractive. And then the second thing that I wanted to mention, which someone else did previously, I go to Paradise a lot. I'm there pretty frequently. I don't want to walk outside into the pool patio and look up and see a giant solid concrete wall. At the very least, I think we need to have some sort of requirement that wraps whatever mural is on the Asbury Avenue side, have it wrap around the side to face the Empress. I mean, people who are staying at the Empress in the hotel, they're not going to want to look out their balcony and see that. So yeah, I guess that's basically all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Gabrielle Monroe. I live over on Summerfield Ave. I'm an environmental scientist. I feel like I'm probably one of the few people that, at least I know, that can say that I didn't choose Asbury Park, it chose me. I didn't choose to come to live here. I really had no place to go, and thankfully I had a great friend who took me in, and just by living here for almost 3 years now, I've just felt nothing but that from the community just taking you in. I've canvassed to get like donations for Habitat for Humanity. Every business owner here cares about this town. They care about this community. We're talking about, these beige people that are coming in who are attracted to these buildings. When you walk through, say, like Montreal, and you see all this ornamentation and whatnot, you respect where you are, and you respect those buildings. You respect the neighborhood. You go into this completely like whitewashed neighborhood. You have all this riffraff from all these, normie people who are just going to throw trash around. Nobody's going to care about that. Nobody's going to give it the respect that it demands. We already know that. The people coming in here won't know that. Aside from that, getting to the environmental side, I feel like there hasn't been a proper traffic study done. You're telling me that the parking garage is going to come in and out on a one-way street right next to the Pony? Where is the traffic study done in like proper season? Not in the off season, in the proper season, especially if people are coming in thinking they can get parking for the show, like for the shows, or even just coming to the beach or going to the hotel if it hasn't been shut down yet. Stuff like that. Where's the proper shade study? How is it going to affect the Empress's pool? Even just in terms of like where the lot is facing right now, we have a lot of migratory birds. How is the building, is there any sort of like ordinance or something to be built in to protect any birds that'll be flying through that may hit the building? I just feel like, because I work in regulation, there's a lot of due diligence here that like hasn't been done. And I just haven't heard any of that tonight. And I just, want to know a little bit more about that, but just more so that like I would hope that you would care more about like the people or just, a little more heart into your work instead of just doing what you're paid to do. Because this is going to be something that's going to affect people. And is something like you probably make like 50 of these a year or more. Like where's your project that you're really going to be proud of? We'd love to see that. Where's that? That's all that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Seaton. I live on 704 2nd Ave in Asbury Park. Been here almost like 10 years. I just have a question. This is like a legitimate question, probably a stupid one. When I hear the words pilot program, my knee-jerk reaction is like, boo, no money for the schools then, who are $14 million in debt in Asbury. Like, our students can't read, and we're incentivizing developers. They don't need to be incentivized. They're making a ton of money to come here. Why? Am I misunderstanding like what a pilot program is? And to an extent, it kind of feels like this is the Jurassic Park argument. Just because you can does not mean you should. With everything that keeps happening in this town, who's it for? At the end of the day, everybody left Jersey City, they left Hoboken, left New York, because they destroyed all those cities. And they come here and they go, let's do the same thing here. Why? It's not for the people who live here. So at the end of the day, what would this actually do to benefit the existing community? Short of enticing people who can afford $4,000 a month for a studio, when the Asbury Park is advertising on Facebook, oh, we'll help you with your rent if it's too expensive. But that seems like such a interesting dichotomy. So please explain a pilot program to me and then everything else.
If you want to tell her.
Well, I'm just going to do it in 10 seconds or less. We have literally like 2 presentations that are 2 to 3 hours on a pilot presentation. I'm going to do it in less than a minute.
Works for me.
The waterfront redevelopment plan was passed in 2002. In 2010, the city of Asbury Park, none of us were on this council, was taken to court. A judge during that time said, hey, you have to financially incentivize the developers. In 2010, it was a different time, just FYI. So a judge said, hey, you have to help these developers develop, and you're going to make them pay, instead of school taxes, money for infrastructure. You're going to put that into roads and driveways and lights and sidewalks. And that's what you're going to do to get these projects, because that's what we're ordering you to do. So that is an extraordinarily abbreviated discussion on a pilot program. I strongly encourage you to watch the 2 hours that Eric Aguilar, who says way more than I just said, about a pilot program. But that is like reduced to the tiniest sentence or 2.
And is there anything that can correct that, like in the future going forward, to stop this from happening? Is there a moratorium on how often you have to do this? Like, that happened in 2002 and 2010, can it be altered like in the future
It
to
can.
stop this from happening?
It's a 30-year agreement, which it can, in 30 years from
Asbury Park will be a
2010.
pile of cigarette ash in 30 years if it keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah, no, it's complicated. It's complicated. I think everybody who's gone to any lengthy meeting that we've done, whether at the high school or anything else, understands that it's complicated.
Thank you.
And we're going to get Eric to come in and do another program on pilots so people can ask him questions directly.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Capestro. I live at 218 Second Avenue. I just wanted to read a quote really quickly. This is actually from the 2006 master plan that the city of Asbury Park published. This is under vision and goals. It says, the city's vision for the year 2027 is of a safe and vibrant community with a balance of land uses, diverse housing options, a thriving arts community, a diversified and expanding year-round economy, modern and well-maintained infrastructure, expanded community facilities, and an outstanding quality of life. I don't want to speak for everyone in this room, but I think when we see plans like this, that vision, it's not really coming to life. And so for those of you that craft these visions and you have control of that vision, I think you should take a look at the things that you're approving. Thank you.
Close it.
I really wasn't going to say anything tonight, but I feel like I need to add a couple of things. My name is Shep Pettibone. I own the Empress Hotel. I bought it in 1998, before there was a pilot program or incentives or anything. I had no help financially. I renovated the building myself that had been empty for 8 years and totally stripped of all metal, glass, everything. And this project is going to destroy this building. There is a shade study done. There will be no sun by the pool except for an hour and a half a day. And the noise will go on for 2 years building this. I own a hotel. There's no way that I can have guests staying in a hotel where there's building going on starting at 7:30 in the morning. And of course, there's going to be piles. There's piles driven everywhere. I don't care what you think you're building. There's going to be piles, and it's going to be noise. And it makes me sad. And I'm very happy that I was, quote, the pioneer that brought so many people to Asbury, but now you're driving them away. And that's sad.
That's super tough to follow up, but I feel super inspired by, everybody who's gotten up to talk. I'm Hunter Griffin, moved here a few years ago. I live on 5th and Emory. I love Asbury so much, and a huge part of that, obviously, is Paradise. I've really found myself as a queer person in this town. Paradise was a huge part of that. I have queer friends who go to California and people who have never been to New Jersey who say, "Have you ever been to Paradise?" They don't say, "Have you ever seen that condo on First Ave?" these places are super important to all of us. I think the way this town is super important to all of us. Things obviously change, but I think, it's really just super important to think about how you want things to change. And I don't know a single person who's excited about that building. That's just the way it is. And I'm part of a lot of different sub-communities in Asbury, and people are just not excited about this, and people are worried about it because it messed up part of the culture at Kim Marie's, which is a place we love to go. It obviously will mess with Paradise and the Empress and just places around there. Nobody has said it. The Stone Pony is super loud too. So yeah, I have trouble believing that that won't be an issue either. So, just really think about places are changing all the time. How do you want Asbury to change? And I don't know a single person who wants it to continue to go in this direction.
Motion to close?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Public participation is now closed. Mayor Moore?
Yeah, before, about a half hour ago, I sent Anthony a note and said, can we have a little bit of quiet, please? Sent Anthony a note and said, before we go into the agenda, I wanted to say a couple things. And one of them was, I was going to ask, was a shade study done?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
I'm asking these people.
I did it 6 years ago.
Okay. Mr. Pettibone, I'm asking you.
So I'll let Mr. Minervini answer, but yes, a preliminary study
Yes.
has been done.
Yes, there's a shade study in progress. So something, if we certainly we could give it to this council. Typically, they happen at the planning board. Certainly, it's something we can do.
We want to see it, please.
Understood.
And then somebody brought up a parking study. A parking study was done in the summertime for the waterfront redevelopment area last year.
The traffic study, yes.
Yes.
We
Okay.
had counts done over the summer and submitted that to the council in the fall.
And then one thing, and this is my personal opinion, I don't like the grayer champagne either. And I'm going to tell you a story that I got yelled at, but that's okay. It'll be a short story. When we used our money from the state that Master Marquette hasn't used theirs, we redid the boardwalk, put in all new benches. So we had hundreds of extra benches. So the Environmental Shade Tree Commission put them in all the parks and paint them different colors. I think they look sharp as hell. So, if we could get some different colors into the waterfront, personally, I think it would be helpful. And that's all I've got to say, but I wanted to add it because people ask me, does it make a difference what you say? I was going to say that without you asking that question.
We're now moving on to the minutes.
Now, we're going to go to the boring part that you people don't like about running a city. So if any of you want to leave now, instead of us having 15 minutes of chaos, we'll take a couple minutes so you can, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for coming out and providing feedback.
Nobody cares about running a city. That's great. No.
Two or three things. Color. I want to open that. I never know. And I want to get the signs on
Okay, people have to go. They can't just hang out and talk.
Okay, take your conversations outside, please.
We want to go too. Yeah, we want to go too. All right, let's go. You ready?
There you go.
Ready?
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I have executive and regular meeting minutes from March 11th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Do Do I have a second?
Is there a second? on
Second.
minutes?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yeah.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We are now on to the consent agenda resolutions. All matters listed on consent tonight are presented collectively to the City Council and be considered for approval with one vote. These matters are considered to be routine in nature and will be no individual discussion unless desired by one or more council members. Tonight, we have on consent 2026-159 through 2026-163. Do I have a motion?
Move it?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Moving on to individual resolutions. I have first 2026-164, resolution authorizing payment of bills.
Move it?
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-165, resolution approving change order number 7 through 11 and request to exceed 20% change order threshold for the Asbury Park Boardwalk Restroom Project.
Move it?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yeah.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-166, resolution authorizing a professional service contract for state police accreditation maintenance.
Move it?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
No.
Resolution 2026-167, resolution authorizing the withdrawal of a bid and authorizing negotiations and awarding of a contract without the need for public advertising of bids for towing services.
Move it?
Second?
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yeah.
Mayor Moore.
Abstain.
Resolution 2026-168, resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Asbury Park acting in its capacity as a waterfront redevelopment entity, authorizing the issuance of a certificate of completion to AP Block 4001 Venture Urban Renewal LLC for the redevelopment project located upon the property located at 1150 Kingsley Street, 201-203 3rd Avenue, known as Surf House. Do I have a motion?
Move it? Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-169, resolution of the City of Asbury Park in support of Senate Bill 399, requiring ownership information when residential rental housing is purchased by limited liability corporations.
Move it?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Moving on to ordinances for public hearing and second reading, I have ordinance 2026-7, the 2026 cap rate ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the meeting for public comment?
Move to open?
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment is now open on the ordinance. Your comments may only be about the ordinance.
Motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adopt 2026-7?
Move to adopt?
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-8, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park amending the city code to relocate the tree removal and replacement ordinance into a new chapter 23 to be entitled Tree Removal and Replacement and to make minor changes. Do I have a motion to open the meeting for public comment on the ordinance?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment is now open. Your comments may only be about the ordinance.
Hi, Jameson, 400 Deal Lake Drive. Can somebody clarify, like, what are the minor changes? Like, what's going on with it?
Yeah, previously, the shade tree, it was run by the Shade Tree Commission, which regularly, would oversee their removal and what kind of trees were to be replaced. We're moving that now, it's a bit too much for them. We're moving that to be under the jurisdiction of a arborist and the Department of Public Works, which we think will just be more efficient.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
Do I have a motion to close public comment?
Move to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-8?
Move to adopt.
Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
If that's all for tonight, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Do you have stuff we have to sign?